Space travel. It's the final frontier, the next great leap for humankind. We've been dreaming about it for decades, and every year we're told we're getting closer to making it a reality. Just think of the headlines. Humans on Mars by 2030. Private companies gearing up for space tourism. It all sounds amazing, doesn't it? But there's a problem. This grand dream of space colonization may not be as close as we think. From the time of the moon landing, we've imagined a future where humans live and work in space, where our species spreads out across the stars. But what if I told you, this dream might never come true in the way we've been promised? In this video, we're going to explore the biggest lie about space travel that's been fed to us by governments, space agencies, and even the media. It's time to take a closer look at the reality of space exploration and why we may be a lot farther from our interstellar future than we've been led to believe. To truly understand this lie, we need to start with one of the biggest issues no one wants to talk about: space radiation. When we think about space travel, we imagine astronauts floating through the void, exploring new planets, and living on Mars or the Moon. But there's a threat lurking in space that's far more dangerous than many people realize: cosmic radiation. The moment astronauts leave Earth's protective magnetic field, they're exposed to levels of radiation that could be deadly over time. Space agencies like NASA have known about this problem for years, but it doesn't get much attention in the media. Why? Because it challenges the very notion of colonizing other planets. To put it simply, our current technology can't fully protect humans from the radiation in space, especially for long-term missions. For example, a trip to Mars, including time spent on the surface, would expose astronauts to radiation levels significantly higher than anything experienced on Earth. This isn't just a minor health risk, it's a life-threatening problem. Radiation can cause cancer, damage internal organs, and even lead to genetic mutations. And right now, we don't have a reliable way to shield humans from this danger for long periods. But the radiation isn't the only problem. There are other challenges we've been misled about, challenges that make our dreams of Mars colonies far more difficult than they appear. Now that we've uncovered the hidden threat of radiation, let's explore the second part of this lie, that is, the illusion of Mars as a new home. We've been told that Mars is the next frontier for humanity, that we could colonize the red planet and build a new home there. But here's the truth. Mars is not the welcoming world it's been made out to be. In fact, living on Mars presents challenges that may be insurmountable. Let's start with the basics. Mars has no breathable atmosphere. While Earth has a rich atmosphere full of oxygen, Mars has an incredibly thin layer of carbon dioxide. This means any colonists on Mars would need to live in sealed habitats with oxygen constantly pumped in. The slightest breach in these habitats could be catastrophic. Next, there's the issue of gravity. Mars has only 38% of Earth's gravity, which could have significant effects on human biology. We still don't know what long-term exposure to low gravity will do to the human body, but early studies suggest it could lead to muscle atrophy, bone loss, and other severe health issues. And then there's the weather. Mars experiences extreme temperatures, with nighttime lows that can plummet to -100 degrees Celsius. Combine that with planet-wide dust storms that can last for months, and you've got an environment that's far more hostile than we're prepared for. Despite all these challenges, we've been sold the idea that Mars is humanity's next great home. But with the technology we have today, living on Mars would be a constant fight for survival. The reality is, we're not ready, and we might not be ready for a very long time. With Mars looking more like a dangerous fantasy, what about space travel itself? Can private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin really make space tourism and interplanetary colonization a reality? In the next section, we'll dive into the technological limitations and logistical nightmares that make space travel far more difficult than we've been told. Private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin have made headlines with their bold promises of space tourism and eventually colonizing Mars. But here's the part they don't talk about: the massive technological and logistical barriers that stand in the way. Let's take space tourism as an example. While companies are making strides with reusable rockets and suborbital flights, the costs are still astronomical, pun intended. A ticket to space costs millions of dollars, making it something only the ultra-wealthy can afford. And even if the price comes down, the risks involved in human spaceflight are still incredibly high. Now, let's talk about interplanetary travel. Getting to Mars alone is a massive engineering challenge. It's not just about the distance, it's about the supplies, the fuel, and the technology required to keep astronauts alive for months in space. Right now, we don't have spacecraft that can reliably carry enough supplies for such a journey, let alone for long-term survival on another planet. And then there's the issue of getting back. Mars missions aren't just a one-way trip. You need a way to bring astronauts back to Earth, and that requires an entirely separate set of technologies, none of which have been fully developed or tested in the harsh environment of space. The truth is, space travel is incredibly difficult, expensive, and dangerous. The idea that we're on the verge of creating a multiplanetary civilization is more fantasy than fact. But why are we being misled? Because it sells. The dream of space travel captures our imagination. It gives us hope for the future. But if we're going to truly reach for the stars, we need to face these challenges head-on rather than hiding behind the grand promises. The biggest lie about space travel isn't that it's impossible, but that we're far closer to achieving it than we really are. Now that you know the truth, what do you think? Are we ready for the stars, or is space travel still a distant dream? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us next week for more mind-blowing content about the universe.
5, we have to go for ready to start. 2, 1, 0. Booster ignition and liftoff of Shuttle Endeavour with NASA's final space station crew compartment that brings a bay window view to our celestial backyard.
Houston, Endeavour, roll program. Roger, roll, Endeavour.
This is Mission Control Houston. Endeavour's roll maneuver is complete. It's now in a heads-down position on track for its flight to the International Space Station.